So, good afternoon and welcome to today's session. I'm Philip Nothard, Insight and Strategy Director here at Cox Automotive. So, hopefully today we're going to have a good discussion between our panel guests of today. We're going to talk about what is digital retail and is it so much more than selling cars purely online. We know that the role of the digital in today's car buyer is undeniable. It will only be a fraction of used cars that are actually new and used cars sold purely online. And this is where we're going to get into an interesting debate of what is online retail in today's marketplace. And more than ever, consumers require flexibility. They need to be able to understand the difference between physical and digital, be able to flexibly move between those two options, online and to the physical environment. And what does create a successful buyer journey. So I have the pleasure today to be joined by John O'Hanlon, who many of you might know, CEO of Waylands Motor Group. Good afternoon, John.
Thank you, Philip. Delighted.
We're joined by Jennifer. So, Stephanie, sorry.
Yeah, that's
We'll talk about Jennifer later. Stephanie from Volvo UK. We've got Ben Archer from Arbury Group. And we've got Shaun Harris from Codeweavers. Unfortunately, you'll see today, we were meant to have Stuart Miles from Cox Automotive Retail Solutions. Unfortunately, he's got COVID.
Oh dear.
We removed Shaun instead.
Yeah.
But it is Shaun Harris from Codeweavers who's joined us today. So we'll get off with some questions. And we'll see how this goes, John. I'll try and keep you under control for this afternoon.
Oh, and a microphone.
We'll start off with yourself, John, and then we'll move on to Ben. What does today's car buyer actually want from our retailers today?
I guess the quick and easy answer is they want more. And part of that is the expectations that we create on a daily basis. Part of that is the expectations that's been created by how we live our lives. You know, Amazon Prime, I order it, it's there next day. They want to be dealt with how they want to be dealt with. It's not for us to say you will come in on these hours at this time. They want to deal with whether it be digital, whether it be physical, and they want a great level of service. They want transparency. They want consistency, and those are all the areas where we need to get better and quicker.
And in the time in the industry that you've had, and you've had it twice now, so how is this different compared to when you left the industry the first time round and then when you've returned?
Yeah, I think we were getting used to being more professional, and I think the industry has changed, our reputation's changed throughout. And when it came back, it wasn't a matter of, you know, being good occasionally as a result. Let's strive to average. You know, we want to be top quartile in everything that we do, and that's what will make an average business into a great business, and that's where I want Waylands to be, and that's whether it's on a telephone, on a website, in the dealerships. It doesn't matter. It's having a great experience that feels personal, it feels bespoke.
And do you feel the expectations have changed?
Yes.
Over the period?
Yeah, I think our customers have higher expectations. And I know that because I've got higher expectations now. You know, all of us, we've all got these lovely, wonderful mini computers in our hands that can give us instant gratification anywhere, anytime, any place that we want to. So if I feel that way, all my customers generally will feel that way too.
And moving to Ben, so is anything different to add from what John's
just what John said?
Like, you can't get away with just that one. You know you cannot get away.
I think a lot of our customers, it's when they get to us, it's the end of a fairly long journey, and they're pretty well informed. So for me, from the point of view of Arbury, it's making it as quick, seamless, and as efficient as possible. They definitely do want more, but they're also better informed. So when they hit our website, for example, you know, it's key that they find what they're looking for as quickly as possible. It's a fairly simple ideal for us.
And that physical and digital space, how are you?
It's tricky.
It's a very tricky
really
space.
tricky. I think when we built this platform, the first thing we realised is that the way they sort of move, their journey is very hybrid, and there'll be multiple movements online, offline. We thought, we'll just build a really lovely website and tick the box, it's all done. We very quickly realised that, when they phoned in, because they went physical, they couldn't get hold of our customers, of our staff. So it very quickly realised it's just not one piece, and it's ideally never finished. It's kind of version 1, and we've got to go beyond just the platform and think what happens when they phone in. Does the phone system suit our needs? Does it suit the customer's needs? Do they get to the right person? And then when they come down, is the experience the same? So it's a very much more of a joined up process for us, and been a huge learning curve over the last sort of 18 months. We're getting there very slowly.
And I mean, Stephanie, from an OEM's perspective, from what John and Ben have been saying there, and where you operate in that space, in a sort of a consumer space and dealing with, and I'll try and keep it away from the agency conversation as much as I can this afternoon, especially with John sat next to you as well. I'll entice John into that. We'll do that and keep away from that. Where do you see this now from an OEM perspective, from Volvo looking in towards your dealerships, the representation of the dealerships with your brand?
Absolutely, it's actually really nice lead on from the discussions both of these chaps have just had. We need to be with our customers where they want to be and taking it online and offline when they want to, and not all our customers are the same, they're not going to follow the same journey. And how can we bring those online experiences to life in the retailer? If you've got a busy Saturday, the business manager's busy, customer wants to do a finance application, we can put them back online. So it's also about education. How can we use those online experiences in the retailer to make consumer experiences better and help drive them along that purchase funnel as well while we're with them?
Because I suppose more than ever, the dealers in the online, physical, digital space, they're representing the brand more than ever now, aren't they? So you need that connection between the OEM and the dealer more than you may have would have done before. Historically, you had the OEM was driving the consumer branding space, the dealer was driving their brand at that sort of floor level with their consumers. Now it's a case of a bit of the both, isn't it, between the two, the dealer and the OEM?
Absolutely, and when I started in automotive 10 years ago now, you may have seen that disparity between new and used. So maybe, excuse me, as an OEM, we were focusing more on new car online, and you had the dealerships maybe focusing on used car. And now we're trying to bring that much more in-brand journey to used car, introducing consumers to our different retailers online, making it a nice consistent journey. So just like you would if you were on Amazon or John Lewis, you see lots of different brands in one place with the same look and feel, and that's how we want our retailer marketplace online to be.
Ben's just agreeing on everything here.
No, I totally agree. I think one of our fundamentals when we built the platform was we want one blended search. We want all our inventory in one place, new and used, all brands, because actually I think we've learnt very quickly that we all thought we put the customer at the heart of everything we do, but we probably didn't. We made lots of decisions for them in the past for them. So, to echo that, we definitely now, it's been one of the biggest challenges, and we're definitely not there, is about putting all of our inventory in one place and letting the customer choose based on, what they want, whether that's payment or, brand, etc., etc.
A bit fighting on this.
Keep it away from me.
Is this working now? No.
This wasn't like that over on AM. All these worked. It was great.
It's just perfect. And you got names right, probably. As well.
And you got the names right. Well, we introduced ourselves. Makes it a lot easier.
I'll say that
for going forward. I think the point that we've got to understand is we do have to be blended, yes, physical and digital, but also retailer and manufacturer, especially with some of the things that we don't talk about that are happening. Our manufacturers generally, and I'll say this out loud, have not been as good digitally, whether it be social, whether it be websites. The retailers have led the way. We have been better, we have been more effective at doing what we do. Where we're going and how close we're going to tie ourselves together, we need to make sure that we are working hand in hand. And I think the learning curve for the manufacturers have been phenomenal over the last 12, 18 months about what a dealer does, and that's absolutely an area that's got to help us going forward.
We're doing very well at keeping away from that topic, aren't we? Yes. As we've only got half an hour as well, John, as well. So I mean, Shaun, listening to the conversations here, obviously between OEM and the dealer, and you sit kind of in between that. You're trying to obviously service both, to give the solutions, give the support. Have you got anything you can echo with this kind of journey that the dealers and the OEMs have been on?
Yeah, I think John does make a very good point in that the retailers have really engaged with the technology over the last few years, and there aren't many retailer websites out there that don't have tools that don't have functionality that customers can engage with digitally. Not all of them have gone all the way through to I can actually buy the car, but certainly a lot of the activities that customers want to do, they can now do. I think, being the one supplier here, you've noticed I've skillfully avoided the manufacturer retailer bit, so I'll take it off as a tangent. But I think it's relevant to both. There's still a lot of work to do in the transition between digital and physical.
Yeah.
I'll just give one example. I've now at the point, sadly, where my kids buy cars, which gives me an opportunity when they're looking to buy a car to understand what they want. And you know, my 23-year-old daughter really does not understand why she has to go through so many hoops. And just in August, son turned 21, new job over in Manchester, upgraded his car. And just one little example of some of the education pieces you still need to do in the transition is we reserved the car online, we did a part exchange valuation. Sadly, we couldn't arrange to have it delivered. The first thing I got back from the retailer was a lovely video that said, I'd like to show the car that you're inquiring about. I wasn't inquiring about the car, we've made a decision. And it's a little thing, but basically the sales process that they were using took me right back to the start as though it was an inquiry and I needed to be sold the car. I didn't, I reserved it, I bought the car. So I do think that transition between online, the digital tools, to offline, still needs some work.
I'm going to defend the dealers now. A little bit. I absolutely agree with that, and you know, we're desperately trying to get to a completely blended, you know, online and offline journey, but I think we're fairly poor industry from technology. We're being, you know, quite behind other people or other industries, and you know, we're playing catch up really quickly. But the integrations piece is a huge piece for us. And at the moment, we built a website and said we're going to put 10 integrations in, and the customer can do Uber-style, you know, demonstrations and have the car delivered and auto proposals into the OEM finance system. And then you sort of get to the wonderful sort of blue sky planning meeting, and you go, okay, so who can do this? And they all go, well, I can't, and you can't. And so what we've had to do is draw it back a little bit and say, you know, let's just concentrate on a few integrations, the key ones. You know, Codeweavers is one of them, our inventory is another. And yes, of course we want to deliver cars to people's homes automatically, and of course we want to, you know, propose every finance proposal, but the technology's not quite there. The integration is definitely not there, and it's probably the bane of all of our lives a little bit at times. And that's where our people come in from a retailer's point of view. Is we've got very good people who work for us, and for want of a better phrase, they sort of plaster over those cracks that currently exist, and we're trying to solve.
And keep hold of the mic, because it's danger that I'm going to introduce the word disruptors. So you might need to just watch for his left hand, John's left hand hanging over here. But, you know, we talk about digital, we talk about the acceleration of digital. And some commentators say that without the disruptors, the majority of the retail market wouldn't be where they were today in terms of that digital.
I'm staring at the car wow guy.
Yes.
I sat next to at dinner last night, so I've got to be really careful
Yes.
here.
And then others will say it was more to do with COVID and the consumer. But actually, this trend or this direction of the consumer was happening pre-pandemic, pre-disruptors. What's your view on that? You know, because we were moving in that direction. We talk about phygital as a sort of physical and digital. We hate that. Well, you know, there's other words we'll come to later on that we might not like either, but we'll try and keep it clean. what's your view on that? Would you two as businesses be where you were today without either COVID or the disruptors that entered the market space?
I think many of the disruptors were there before COVID, so I think it's a combination of the disruptors and COVID. I think it's just accelerated it. Look, let's be clear, before all this, customers were online, offline. It was just heavily weighted towards offline. You know, we were, for want of a better phrase, our website, our platform was a library, just an information portal. You couldn't actually interact with it. It was, like an old traditional listing. So, we're just shifting the balance a little bit. We all shut. God, I'm not going to go into COVID, but we all shut the doors on March the 23rd, and everyone panicked really quickly. So I think there's an element of, the likes of the disruptors and COVID that's put us in this position.
Go on, Stephanie.
I actually think, I think this comes down to benchmarking as well. I think as automotive, we traditionally benchmarked against automotive. Can we do better online than we're doing now? Can we do better than the next retail group? And the disruptors came in and said, can we do better than the other digital services online? And a lot of that comes down to the back-end systems as well. I'm sure you guys will agree we're dealing with systems that come from old engineering companies which aren't necessarily consumer and digital focused, whereas the disruptors didn't have that problem. Again, so they brought a great new wave into the market of making us benchmark ourselves in a different way. And I think for some of them it's about working with them, not against them. So how can we use them to benefit sales and the way our retailers work?
Go on, John.
I think it was almost a little bit of heart and mind. I think if I was going to use a C word there, but I'll go kazoo. Is anybody from kazoo in today? Great, okay. I'll use that. He came in and told us it was going to be a wonderful digital online, fantastic service, better than retailers. And I think that actually, we looked at it and we thought this won't work. And it didn't work. It went very quickly from digitally online to having physical premises, a physical infrastructure, and it's not worked. Cinch, another matter, and we know what happened with Kazam. So there's real examples. What COVID brought was actually, I can't sell cars. I don't know how to sell cars. But they're quite right. The tools were there. There were the tools, and we had to switch them on and then understand how to use them effectively. But at no point did we lose the people from that element.
I mean, essentially, you've met in the middle, haven't you? The dealer network, pre-pandemic, pre-disruptors, whatever benchmark we want to put on this, but was very dominant physical with some online presence. They've kind of accelerated that digital presence, the online presence, and the ones that entered into pure digital then kept coming back and realised they needed a physical infrastructure, physical footprint, and they kind of met in the middle to a certain degree.
Sorry,
not quite in the middle.
I think the last couple of years of COVID, I think we all thought when it happened, this is the way it's all going to be, and we're going to be online and digital, and that's when, all the disruptors came and thought, right, we're going to trade 100% online and done deal. Our consumers haven't massively changed.
Yeah.
They're buying a purchase, second highest value purchase. They still want to come in, they want to see a product, touch a product, drive a product. They want to see people. We've been, cooped up for so long. So, for our example, we could have quite easily gone into as a group and bought one of the off-the-shelf platforms. Trust me, we spent a lot of time and nearly did. But we only launched our platform 8 weeks ago because we took our time to build it ourselves and do the things we wanted to do that suited our customer as far as what they actually do need online and actually how does that integrate with what happens offline. So.
I think that's a really good point, and a lot of it is about meeting our customers where they are. Long gone are the days of, I remember buying a car with my parents and spending a whole day at Slyfield Industrial Estate in Guildford, going around every single retailer and having a look. Those days are gone. As Shaun said, his kids expect to do 99% of the process online, but they still want that great experience of going into a dealership, being welcomed, being made a coffee, in our case, having your fika and having that handshake. But that's not all customers. That's, a younger generation. We've still got our older generation of customers who might want to do it all physically and have that experience every weekend for a month of Sundays. And we can't expect them all to be the same.
Go on, John.
I guess the only other point I would make is with the changing technology in terms of electric vehicle. I think more than ever you've got to drive it. You've got to come in. So there's more. It isn't the same old. And we get another 3 Series. It could be another 3 Series that's electric. I'd want to drive that. I'd want to look at the competition coming into our market is going to be phenomenal, and actually being able to demonstrate that your vehicle is as good or better, and why it's better, is still going to be a key part of any buying process.
And sticking with yourself, John. Are you all right then?
Yeah.
So sticking with yourself, how many people actually buy a car purely online, without physical interaction, without some kind of alternative interaction away from the internet?
Oh, it's 0.5% of our retail sales. 0.5%. So if you then look at reservations, that gets to 2.5%. And I'm not quite sure if I'm good or bad, but them's the facts. And I know we'll talk about live chat, but customers who interact with us on live chat, they buy 10% of their cars without coming to the dealership. Now, that is a much bigger, more exciting number, but that reinforces the point that people are willing to buy a car, maybe not physically, but they still want a holding hand, an expert alongside them. And that's where we've been working really hard. So that's our numbers. It's tiny.
Is that similar for yourself, Ben, on that? Is that kind of very low percentages in terms of that pure?
As is zero online.
Is it?
Yeah, we've only been going 8 weeks. Reservations, a very similar number. People are very confident to give £99, but the live chat piece that John mentions is we're human beings. You know, whether we speak to someone digitally, that interaction just sort of ticks people over the edge to actually complete the exercise, because they feel like they've dealt with someone. We're very comfortable with doing it, but actual pure, no physical contact, actually our platform couldn't do it anyway, completely, is zero.
But moving on slightly, but sticking with the online, the study from ICDP in partnership with Auto Trader and NFDA, as you've probably seen anyway, it's quoted that retailers with more online services say they're more efficient and sell more per salesperson than those with basics in place. I'm not saying that's you, Ben.
I couldn't tell you, if I'm brutally honest.
But is the online, is the digital more about the services available to the consumer than actually the online sale of a vehicle?
In our group, I call it our digital dealership. You know, I'm very much, if you can do it in a dealership, ultimately I want you to be able to do it on our platform. So, we haven't talked about servicing before, but we've got a full integrated online service booking in there. So I couldn't tell you whether we're selling more cars or booking more services overall. It's early days. The initial data that we've got out of a website is we've doubled our what we call goals, conversions. So I think by offering the full facility, yes, definitely over time, you're generating more inquiries.
Yeah.
We've still got to deal with them internally, whether that's through our service departments or our sales departments. But it's just about offering that complete service, as I said, that digital dealership.
So, I can actually back that up with some stats as well.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at, Ben's got the solutions, and we look at the interactions with them, there's a lot of interactions, and very few customers get to the very end and actually press the button. What they're doing is they're actually building their own deal, and they're getting really comfortable with what that deal might look like, and then they're probably jumping on live chat and finishing off, or they're jumping into the store. But if you've got the tools to make the customer really comfortable, that it's affordable, it's the car they want, the payment they want, that the services are there that they want, that they can have it delivered if they want, then there's where the current results are. Just putting a buy it now button on a website will not automatically see customers buy every single car. And John made a point earlier, re-disruptors, and having a great digital platform is what great retailers need. Having a great digital platform doesn't make you a great retailer, and that's an important definition. To use it properly, you've got to be a great retailer.
And
sorry, I'd echo that. We haven't got very deep pockets when it comes to investment, as the disruptors do. So we're sort of coming at it very much, say, from two different angles. But we have invested a long time and a lot of money in facilities, franchise, and ultimately the most important thing is people. People that, you know, understand our business, understand our customers. As I said, in the 20 years I've worked in the industry, which isn't very long, our customers fundamentally haven't changed. They still want the same kind of level of service. The tech's changed. The speed of getting to that end result has changed. The information that's out there has definitely changed. So, yeah.
I completely echo the point on people. Our live chats are answered by our own people, so it's not just farmed out to another live chat call centre. We get to 96% of our live chats, and I think the point you're making is they're quite far down. Yeah, there'll be some of the questions will be round about, what time are you open? But more fundamentally, we know our conversions of customers who are in the market for sales is higher than we get in the dealership, which seems nuts to me, but I think that's the point you're making, that they're further down the line. But those live chat agents can answer simple questions round about product, but they can also take you right the way through a finance offering. Yeah. So as far as you want to go, they can take you there. And if you then say, I want to go and test drive the car, great news, we will book you in, and they then become a concierge service. And to go right back to one of the points you mentioned at the beginning, I think it was you, Stephanie, we've got a live concierge. So if we're having an event and you're not booked and you walk in, you'll be given a card. That card will then take you to our live chat agents who can value your car, who can give you an offering, so that when you go back to talk to the sales exec, guess what? You don't have to start again. You're already in a position to move it on. And those are the wins that we need as an industry to think about, rather than constantly looking to save money, invest money, and get a bigger picture.
And I'm going to say, from yourself, Stephanie, from an OEM perspective, where do you see all this heading? I mean, do you see this whole online experience growing, or do you think we're kind of in many places with certain dealerships and certain OEMs, we're at that level now that we've got the majority of the services, we've got the flexibility, we've got that relationship between physical and digital, or do we see more acceleration in that?
We have to remember we're lucky here. We've got top 1% here working with great Codeweavers platforms, so we've got a good gauge here. But if we look at the network as a whole, and you're absolutely right, this comes down to people. You know, I can deliver great online digital leads or great online conversations to our retailers, but if they haven't got the tone of voice training or haven't been through online sales training, and they immediately call an online customer and start cold calling them effectively because actually they want to be responded to online in the channel they inquired on, then all the work we've done digitally is worth nothing. So as you say, I think there's some brands, retailers who have probably got all the tools available, but if it's not backed up with training and bringing your salespeople along the journey with you, you know, there are going to be some of them that are still really working with their kind of gift of the gab, but you also need some of that more concierge, or BMW have their geniuses who can treat customers the way they are expecting to be treated and bring it back round. So, and I think at present company accepted, we still have a long way to go as Automotive of bringing these solutions to our consumers.
Keeping the mic away from Shaun from this stage, but in terms of services in the online space, what are the must-haves? If there was a dealer group or dealership here today who are not really very strong in that digital space, and they've got all these services, the live chats, appraisals, everything's available to them. To Shaun's point and your point, Ben, some are more expensive, it's having the investment available to do it. What are the ones they must have, the priorities? What are the ones that if you were to moving into that space today, you should have?
Let's be brutal. From a retailer's point of view, I just want to sell cars and I want to sell hours and parts. So for me, it was always, I want to put every single retailable car online in front of our customers, presented with good photography, good videography. That's key. There are lots of other things with finance integration, obviously, of course. There's a myriad of things, but I think for me, we're still very much in V1 of our platform and our experience. So for me, we're still trying to hone every last piece of retailable stock onto ours, and we're looking at how we can enhance our photography with the likes of See It Now. Just because when you start seeing a completely blended search of all your inventory, you realise that it looks all a little bit out of sorts if you haven't got a consistent look. But the live chat, I'm sorry to come back to it again. We farmed our live chat out to a third party before we went to this platform, and let's be clear, it was just a message taking system and not a very good one at that. We've actually now brought it in-house. It goes through to our contact centre, who answer all our live chats, and they can then transfer those live chats to an individual agent within our member of the team within our business, whether that's a salesperson, a sales manager, a service manager, etc., etc. So we're still trying to hone that first bit. The things like delivery and demonstrations and some of the really nice to haves, I see them as 6 to 8 months away still, and I'm not overly stressed about racing to this end goal, because I don't think you're ever finished. I know Jules is standing there, who's worked with us on this. We've got like a roadmap of sort of V1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and even when you get to the end of that, there's something new or there's something to change. So I think you just got to. I think the lesson I learned is not bite too much off. Start at the beginning where you want to be, obviously, with presenting your stock or presenting a proper integrated online service booking, and then you sort of can develop it from there.
John, have you anything to add to that?
No. I think you've nailed off. I think we all understand what the basics should be around about what the digital shop or digital retailer should look like. And I guess we're preaching to the converted, anybody who's actually spending their time here. And I would say go around and make sure that you actually have a look at what's available. The next step for our live chat was live video integration that we can launch and then bring in See It Now. So I think it's actually having that openness. I thought you put it really well. You won't get to the final destination because it keeps moving. Yeah. So just make sure that you're educated enough, have a look around at other retailer websites, see what works for you, and then how you can apply that into your business.
There's no one else from Arbury here, so this isn't a PR exercise. but what I will say is I think one thing we've learned in the last 5 years is actually the biggest investment is still our people. We could throw money at technology all day long, and I don't think we'd ever get there. We'd never get to the likes of the disruptors and the kind of investment they've put into their systems. But what we have done is probably long overdue, is put a heavy investment. And I don't mean just financially. I don't mean just in the pocket, because that's not the only thing, but looking at our working hours, looking at our quality of life. Do we really need to be open Sundays? What do we do when Sundays isn't there, and etc. It's all the things that everyone is talking about in this room today and online and in the press. But I cannot say it enough, and as I said, there's no one else here from Arbury, but it's the people. I can't say it enough. They're key to our success and will continue to be.
And Shaun, just from a Codeweavers perspective and potentially a Cox Automotive perspective, but what solutions? I mean, everybody coming here, they want everything. They want an answer for everything. They want a digital solution for everything. What would your advice be? What are we looking at as a business? What are you looking at as a business? What would you advise dealers to say, actually, you know what, if you haven't got this, this is a must. You need to be looking into this.
I think, there's loads of great websites out there that have been developed by various people. There's great tools you can put on there. You can have finance tools, part exchange tools. You can have great search. You can have checkouts. You can have reserves. The technology's there, and retailers, if they go out and they like John said, just go and see what you like. But I think the thing to bear in mind that is you can have all the tools. Statistically, the most important single thing is how you communicate from the use of that tools to the customers. I'll never forget a great stat that came out of MIT. If you get a customer that tries to communicate with you and you do not respond to them for 48 hours, don't respond to them ever, because you are statistically more likely to sell them something in their lifetime by not responding to them than if you respond after 48 hours. And that was done over something like 2.4 million e-commerce transactions. So tools are great. and we've got all the tools, and there's lots of people with tools, but don't forget, they have to work for the retailer. The communication, the speed and quality is actually the single biggest determining factor of how well your tools work.
Okay. Conscious of time, and I'm not saying that as I'm handing you Mike, John. just a final bit here. You know, we talk about retail, we talk about that physical, we talk about the digital experience, talk about online. Omni-channel is the buzzword. Are we just talking about retail in the modern world? Are we just talking retail? Whether it's physical, digital, a blend of both, one or the other, whatever solutions you've got in the online space, whatever that is it just retail?
Yes. Yes. I think however you feel comfortable describing it, that's up to you. But it's just how we retail our goods and services. You missed out paper when you were running through cars, parts and hours. I just spotted one of my finance partners in the audience. So I think that's the point. We are retailing. You know, we are selling, and we should never forget that. That's what we're there to do, and it's to make it as easy as possible. Shaun, you're absolutely right. That instant response, how the customer wants it. So if they come in an email, we respond via email. If they come in an instant message, let's make sure it is instant. If it's a phone call, let's go back to
if they want a part exchange online, they want whatever that is, it's just giving them the options to be able to do what they want, and in the physical, and be able to match the two. So when the customer walks in, you know who they are, what they've done, and where
and that's
they want
that bespoke element that I spoke about. And that's tough for us, especially tough for manufacturers, because they're like, you know, a customer starts there and ends up there. They don't. They go all over the place, and they change their mind. And those are all the areas that we understand as retailers. So it's being bespoke and acting how the customer wants us to.
From an OEM perspective, Stephanie, anything to?
I completely agree. It's all about a consistent, hassle-free experience. And one of the things we've not really talked about today is research and making sure we're actually talking to our customers about what they want and listening to their feedback. And that's how we can make decisions. And we try to work together with Codeweavers as one team, one development team, and consult together and work out on what we're going to do next, listening to the feedback, looking at the conversion funnels, what's working, what's not working, and learn to fail fast.
Anything to add to any of this, Ben? Or yes, I agree with everything.
I don't think retail fundamentally has changed. Please take this the right way, all the marketeers here, but these words are just there to sort of create a new marketing thing in the nicest possible way and keep them in jobs. I've probably offended a lot of people there. We're still retailing in the same way. We're just, with technology is sitting alongside it, and customer requirements are just becoming, you know, more demanding in the right way.
You don't care whether they buy online or they come into the showroom and buy, or
just as long as they come to us and not John, I'm really happy. That's right.
Shaun, to finally finish, anything to add to anything on this?
The one thing that I've been super pleased to hear is people using the word retailer. No one has used the word dealer. Which, and that, you know, too often we've been in that mindset. It's all about great retail. You know, and that's, you know, that's what today and tomorrow's buyers want. They want a great retail experience. They're getting it elsewhere. That's what we need to offer.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I think that's it. So we could carry on talking and debating. We've kept very nicely away from the world of agency. We'll keep quiet on that one. But hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you got some value from it. Exactly as if I'm sure any of the four panellists will talk to you if you do want to catch up with them afterwards. But thanks for joining us for this very brief session.